Welcome to Taiwan. I'm here in Taichung City. I'm here for a very good reason as well, because this is the location of the Kingdom of Middag, which was the first Aboriginal Taiwanese sort of collection of tribes, some strong force that the Dutch actually encountered on Taiwan. So the kingdom was a unitary monarchy with one sole king who had, in theory, absolute power. But that wasn't the reality of it, because they weren't a sort of a European absolute central state. Instead, they were much more like a confederation, and actually a confederation of matriarchies. The kingdom, as previously mentioned, was the first sort of real unified force that the European powers faced on Taiwan. The Dutch were fascinated by the kingdom and called it the most affluent place on the island. And Chun Yi-jun adds that this was the place with the most fertile game and best land for agriculture, thanks to the rivers nearby. This meant that the kingdom became the first real hub of international trade on the island, and the Dutch wanted a piece of that pie. Because whilst there was a king, a unitary king, he wasn't absolute, and the collection of tribes, the confederation, was a collection of matriarchies run by, well, grandmothers really. Sadly, we don't know anything about succession, how the relationship worked between the matriarchies and the king, how the matriarchies themselves worked, what their developments were. Sadly, this all was kind of lost over time. Here's where the Dutch finally come back into the picture. The year 1644, and the Dutch wanted control of this valuable land, and so they pushed and attacked. But the kingdom, knowing their terrain a lot better than the Dutch did, set fire to local forests and pushed back the Dutch and repelled them from the main heart of the kingdom. Sadly, the outlying tribes of the kingdom weren't so lucky, and the Dutch brutalized them, razing them to the ground. The Dutch burned down 13 villages, out of a total of 40 in the entire kingdom. So a lot of people, killing 126 innocent villagers and kidnapping 16 people to use as hostages. Quite literally kidnapping, taking the children from the villages. Unsurprisingly, this anti-Dutch sentiment, but also fear of the Dutch, forced the king to sign a peace treaty with the Dutch. Sadly, a lot of the records we have of the post-treaty kingdom are lost. They're very sparse. We know for certain that they weren't fully annexed by the Dutch, because the king could still issue orders, he still had control of internal affairs, and whilst he had to allow the transit of the Dutch, of Christians and the Dutch, through the territory, he still had the power to say no, you couldn't live there. After this treaty, the Dutch had effective control of most of Taiwan, and really they may not have had their direct control really of half the island, but they had essential de jure control over the entire island of Taiwan. Next episode, we'll be looking at what life was like to be a Taiwanese Aboriginal and a Dutch person in Dutch-controlled Taiwan. And we'll also be looking at the origins of the Chinese migration to Taiwan. At this moment in time, there weren't that many Chinese on Taiwan, but that was all about to change. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. We can boost the channel up and we can get everyone to see the amazing history of Taiwan. It's great. Please subscribe and share with your friends. Comment down below, leave a like. I'll see you next time.